Hi guys, I'm Gasha. Welcome to the channel and welcome as always to our coffee times to discuss movies and horror. And today I'm finally here with part 2 of what I consider underrated movies from the last decade.
It's coffee time!
Not long ago, I did part 1 of this video and the idea came because there are so many movies that don't get as much attention as I think they deserve. Sometimes I consider them hidden gems, and I love that so many people, when I posted that video, told me that they had found a couple of movies there that they didn't know of, and they even watched one or two and they really enjoyed them. So I'm here now with part 2, hopefully bringing you more movies that maybe you were not aware of or that you forgot that came out in the last decade, and hopefully you enjoy part 2 as much as part 1. We're gonna take off right where we left it in the year 2019, and we're gonna work our way to the very end, which is 2023. Villains, an American black comedy horror film written and directed by Dan Burke and Robert Olsen. Mikey and Jules, two amateur robbers, break into a large house in search of fuel. However, they find a dark secret kept by the house owners and get trapped by them. A fun take on home invasion movies with great characters that are all quite different, and yet they all work really well together. With some interesting twists and an entertaining plot, this comedy does get quite dark. The Other Lamb. A young woman born into an all-female cult begins to question the teachings of her leader. This film explores the tensions within this communal hierarchy and uses colors to also establish the difference between the women in this cult. A subtle folk horror with a minimalistic but gorgeous setting in the mountains. The Other Lamb uses a young woman's coming-of-age story to explore the powerful hold that cults can have on their followers. 1BR. Written and directed by David Marmor in his directorial debut. Sarah, an aspiring costume designer, moves into a seemingly perfect one-bedroom apartment in Los Angeles. However, soon she realizes that this little utopia is hiding a dangerous secret. A lot of the film's horror is psychological, with a fantastic use of sound, particularly the unsettling loud mixture of clanging and scraping noises that Sarah hears during the night. A well-made thriller with a lot of suspense, an interesting twist, and a story of survival with a great payoff. Saint Maud, a British psychological horror film written and directed by Ross Glass in her feature directorial debut. The film is a chilling and boldly original vision of faith, madness, and salvation in a fallen world. Maud, a newly hospice nurse, becomes obsessed with saving her dying patient's soul, but sinister forces and her own sinful past threaten to put an end to her holy calling. A film with a lot of tension, suspense, and an intensely creepy descent into the darkest corners of the human mind. The sort of horror that makes you feel indescribably uneasy for quite a while after. Brightburn, an American superhero horror film directed by David Yarobeski. Tori and Kyle find a baby boy in a spaceship and adopt him as their own child. However, after turning 12, the kid, Brandon, learns that he has superpowers and begins to use them for sinister purposes. This is primarily a character study about that thin line between heroism and horror. The film is a horror take on the Superman story that offers good performances, remarkable production design, and an adequate use of its R rating. Definitely a superhero film like you have not seen before. The Cleansing Hour. Two friends, Max and Drew, livestream stage exorcisms on the internet. Things go south when Drew's fiancée, Lane, is possessed by a real demon who starts threatening the nature of the relationship. The Cleansing Hour attempts to take on possession horror in the modern internet-based world. It is a take on social media horror while trying to maintain a balance between horror and humor. The film also offers great work when it comes to the practical effects. Even though the exorcism movies have been overdone, this was an entertaining and interesting take on it. Gretel and Hansel. A dark fantasy horror film based on the German folklore tale Hansel and Gretel by the Brothers Grimm. When their mother descends into madness, siblings Gretel and Hansel must fend for themselves in the dark woods. Hungry and scared, they stumble upon a bounty of food left outside an isolated home. Invited inside by the seemingly friendly owner, the children soon suspect that her generous behavior is part of a sinister plan to do them harm. A visual treat full of gruesome images and a strong, unsettling atmosphere that takes a fresh new spin on the classic tale. Gretel and Hansel is a chilling thrilling, supernatural, and empowering coming-of-age story that truly comes alive once we enter the witch's house. Sputnik. Summoned to a secluded research facility, a controversial young doctor examines a cosmonaut who returned to Earth with an alien parasite inside of him. This slow-burn Russian horror thriller offers a well-designed alien and really strong performances. It has a moody, atmospheric cinematography, and even though it is a story that has been told before, it leans into the human aspects and the human struggles, elevating the story. This is a must-watch for Alien fans. Bloody Hell. A man with a mysterious past flees the country to escape his own personal hell, only to arrive somewhere much, much worse. Bloody Hell manages to take on the tough guy trope, and it gives it some self-awareness, providing the viewer with a lot of fun. An excellent comedy horror genre mashup that manages to keep you engaged and entertained from beginning to end. The film is at its best when it simply fixates on Rex's primal need for survival, slowly revealing the depth of his situation. The Dark and the Wicked. Plagued by waking nightmares, two siblings suspect that something evil is taking over their family at an isolated farmhouse. The Dark and the Wicked has some jump scares to satisfy horror fans, but for the most part, it is about strange happenings at the farmhouse where the family patriarch is dying, and it focuses on atmosphere and creeping dread. It is a relentless ride through the stages of grief and guilt. The Block Island Sound. A fisherman's family encounter horrors and dark truths when an ominous force off the coast of Block Island begins killing wildlife. The film plays with the forces of isolation and psychological claustrophobia in a northeast coastal setting and pitching watercraft on the open sea. It makes forays into conspiracy theory, paranoia, small-town suspicion, and family ties. The Block Island Sound is an impressive crafted horror indie with a lot of suspense, a great sense of character, and the ability to frighten without blood or ghosts. 12-Hour Shift. Mandy and her cousin Regina start trafficking human organs for the former's drug addiction. However, things get complicated when Regina misplaces a kidney. A movie that is morbidly funny, thrilling, and takes the viewer through half a day in the life of a group of captivating, desperate people who make terrible decisions. Within all the mayhem, writer-director Brea Grant also takes a deeper look at family relationships. The Night House. After Beth's husband Owen commits suicide, she resorts to heavy drinking. Upon feeling a supernatural presence around her, she puts on the investigator's hat only to unravel some disturbing secrets. Rebecca Hall delivers a stunning performance, and the score is simple, haunting, and moody, nearly a perfect blend with the visuals and cinematography. The movie does a great job at building up the tension, while it offers a meditation on grief and depression. Speak No Evil. On a vacation in Toscana, a Danish family instantly becomes friends with a Dutch family. Months later, the Danish couple receives an unexpected invitation. It doesn't take long before the joy of reunion is replaced with misunderstandings. With a very unsettling score and a feeling from the beginning that something horrible is going to happen, nothing can fully prepare you for the appalling dark places Speak No Evil is headed to. Don't expect cheap thrills, jump scares, or even gore, but I can tell you that the intellectually intricate build does pay off. Swallowed. After a drug run goes bad, two friends must survive a nightmarish ordeal of drugs, bugs, and horrific intimacy. This is a very character-driven film, and the acting by the four leads, especially Patton and Koch, is excellent. Swallowed is an indie, body horror, unsettling psychodrama that is both atmospheric and creepy. It might not be the movie you have been expecting, but that is why it is so effective and delivers tension, discomfort, and so much more. Incantation. 6 years ago, Lee Ronan was cursed after breaking a religious taboo. She must protect her daughter from the consequences of her actions. Incantation depicts the lengths a mother would go to regain custody of her child. A pace movie that draws the viewer to a mystery while it keeps developing the characters to keep the film as human as possible. A disturbing and really effective found footage film with a satisfying ending. Barbarian. A young woman discovers the rental home she booked is already occupied by a stranger. Against her better judgment, she decides to spend the night, but soon discovers there is a lot more to fear than just an unexpected house guest. Barbarian begins as a tale of awkward circumstance before mutating into something intensely claustrophobic and wildly unpredictable. The film is very aware of all the horror tropes, and it pulls you into the trope just to surprise you. A crazy movie with great performances. Good Boy. Sigrid hits it off with Christian, a millionaire heir she meets on a dating app, but learns that he lives with a man who acts like his pet dog. Trying to be open-minded, she continues the relationship but soon notices an insidious undertone to him. Good Boy is a new Norwegian horror movie that you really don't want to miss. At first, it seems like a cute little romantic movie, but it quickly will turn into a horrific scenario. Even though you might see where things are going, it is worth a watch if you're into psychological horror. Birth, Rebirth. Rose is a pathologist who prefers working with corpses over social interaction. She also has an obsession, the reanimation of the dead. Sally is a maternity nurse. The two women's worlds collide and they embark on a dark path of no return where they will be forced to confront how far they are willing to go to protect what they hold most dear. Laura Moss's directorial feature debut is a terrifying Frankenstein-inspired tale. To be a mother is to sacrifice your body, your free time, your ambition, and maybe even your right to live. Body horror comes into play as Rose's science experiment gets grisly. It's a well-made, often bold film which dares to do something quite unusual with its subject matter and will push the boundaries of amorality. When evil lurks. Two brothers discover that a demonic infection has been festering in a nearby farmhouse. Failing to adhere to the proper rites of exorcism, their reckless actions inadvertently trigger an epidemic of possessions across the rural community. The movie has great pacing and a main character that is faced with one horror scene after the next, and we can sense how helpless he feels. This movie was brutal, bold, and unpredictable. Nobody is safe. The film blends elements of psychological horror with the supernatural in telling a smart and original story. A possession thriller that is unlike any other one you've seen before. These were the other 20 movies to complete my list of 40 underrated horror movies from the last decade. I hope that you enjoyed the list. I hope that there are some movies here that maybe you have not checked out yet and you get the opportunity to do so before the year ends. Let me know down below if there's any other ones that you would have added to the list. Thank you guys as always so much for watching, and I hope to see you all as always in our next coffee time. Bye!